Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, as you know, we are building our dream homestead, prepper paradise, whatever you want to call it. We are doing it with mental imagery. We are doing it as a sky's the limit, money's no object kind of thing. So far, we have water, power, we have our home, our barn, our workshop, our chicken coop, our rabbit barn, and now tonight we get our bees. Because when the bees are gone, so are we. We want our own. Now, my ultimate hive, it'll surprise some folks. It's a flow hive. Actually, a flow hive 2 plus. We'll get there. I mean, who doesn't want something automated? Honestly, with all the work you're already going to have, automated is the way to go. But you should know, flow hives automate harvesting honey, not beekeeping. So to run a flow hive off-grid with minimal labor, you'll have to work around its weaknesses. And that is the insulation, the moisture, pests leveling, predator protection. We're going to try to do all that. And we're going to do it right here. But first, let's talk about what a flow hive actually is, okay? To me, it's beekeeping gold. So it lets you tap the honey straight from the hive without opening it. And you can do it at different times during the season, so you're going to get a different fragrance, a different taste, a different strength to your honey. It's absolutely amazing. And it is easier for the beekeeper, and it is so much more gentle on the bees. Simple as that, really. There are tons of accessories for ease of use. So really, it's definitely where I would want to go. So your busy farming season, your animal husbandry season, it'll all be made easier by having nearly fully automated bees and a stress-free honey harvest. So I'm not saying it's all easy. I'm not saying it's all stress-free. I am saying that it is easier during your hard season. So like I said, my flow choice would be Flow Hive 2. It's cedar. It has the best durability, ventilation, best roof design. It has a pest-resistant bottom board, cedar handles, humidity, a far sight better than pine. Now, you're going to want to get the hive stand. It is critical, okay? The flow hives need to be perfectly level for the flow frames to drain correctly. So you could use a concrete platform. You could use pavers, heavy-duty metal stand. The Flow 2 has a bubble level that is permanently attached, so you're always going to know. They do say a slight forward tilt for rain runoff is great, but honestly, I would just use a basic gazebo-style setup. Keep the harsh weather off the hive. You know, it'll be better than an unlevel hive. Absolutely no reason to go full ICF here, but we can. Maybe we should. You know, if the hive shifts, the honey won't drain. So maybe we should be embedding that platform into the ICF. There are ways to do this. That would make it permanent, yes. But don't you want your bees to be permanent? I do. So let's talk predator protection, okay? Because you don't want something getting in there. You also don't want something sticking around trying to get in there and get you or your other animals. So flow hives do attract predators. Honey harvesting is easy, it's frequent, and let's face it, these predators can just get right in there. I mean, it's what they do. So you'll probably want a solar electric fence kind of around the perimeter. It's going to protect you from raccoons, skunks, coyotes, dogs, bears, the lineup. Get that hardware cloth and go 2 feet out from that so they're not digging under the fence too. They're clever critters. When they're hungry, they're clever. Okay, now on top of having that, you're going to have a gazebo style, like we said. So why not go around the actual gazebo, the actual perimeter of that, in electrical wire too? A double layer is the best layer. 2 is 1, 1 is none, right? And bees like water, and they don't like going far for it. Okay, they want it. They want to be cool. They need it for brood rearing. They need it for all kinds of things. So we'll use a passive system. You can get a terracotta saucer, river stones. You can do rain catchment from the roof, get it into a barrel and have a hose attached. All is good. You don't need pumps. You don't need electricity. You don't need anything. The water for your bees needs to be within 300 feet. They need to know it's there. They're smart. They'll remember exactly where it is. For me, I would get a large bird feeder. It's easy to clean and refresh. That way, it's not only beautiful, but it's convenient. And get this, when we do start planting, you're going to see that this area around the bees is where we are going to cultivate the perfect area, the perfect soil for our medicinal flowers, which means the bees are going to have food just readily there. They're going to be very spoiled. We're going to love our bees. Now remember, this particular homestead in this particular podcast is in Missouri, in the Ozarks. Now, maybe not all the time, but the humidity there, it can be brutal. Okay? Flow hives can trap moisture, and doing that will cause fermented honey. We don't want that. We absolutely do not. So we can use the Flow Hive 2+ ventilation slider. We need to use that correctly. Instructions are included. I wish I was being paid by them. Okay. We can add a moisture quilt in the winter. They work beautifully. Keep the grass trimmed around the hive. You're going to have to do that anyway. All of our flower gardens are going to be out there for all of our medicinal purposes. And you're going to want to go out there quite often to make sure that the roof vents are unobstructed. That is really going to control that for you. Now, flow frames for the Flow 2 work best with a strong colony. So you are going to want to buy local. You're not just going to want to buy a little package. You're going to want kind of local genetics, and you're going to want them in a breed that will have a better acceptance of the flow frames, because the flow frames are plastic. They get used to it. It's just better for them. You take it out, you clean it. It's a lot less stress on the bees. They, in turn, have a better survival rate. But you use your own judgment and do it your way. Now, the flow frames, what I just talked about, they require some very specific handling. And that's why I say use your own judgment and you figure it out for you. Okay, so one thing you need to remember is that the Flow 2 has windows. You can literally see everything going on in that hive. The bees are perfectly comfortable with it, don't worry. You have to remember that the bees have to fully cap that honey before you harvest it. You'll see if it's fully capped, because uncapped honey is fermented honey. Again, ew. The flow frames have to be cleaned annually, and I'll be going over a short calendar of times to be doing that. You never want to harvest during cold weather. You never want to harvest during nectar dearth. The flow frames are not just set it and forget it, okay? They're harvest without the lifting. So they're a clean harvest. You don't need tons of equipment to do it. You need your jars, okay? And don't worry about the bees. The bees are clever. when you're doing all this cleaning and everything else that you need to do, they'll move right down into the brood box. When you take the frames away for washing, that's exactly where they'll go. You need to do it kind of away from them. You don't want to disturb them too much. You don't want to disturb them any more than you have to. But, flow frames aren't that hard to take care of, realistically. So basically what you'll need is some food grade buckets, storage jars. Make sure the area is clean. You don't need electricity. You don't need anything to do it. The flow will drain the honey cleanly. Boom, it's there. It's for you. It is slow. So it'll take about 30 to 90 minutes, depending. And that's per frame. Still worth it. Still worth it. Now, as far as our hive goes, we want to think about varroa. Now, flow hives do not reduce varroa. It kills more colonies than anything else. It's a mite. It's an external parasitic mite, and it attacks and feeds on honeybees. Okay, it's one of the most damaging honeybee pests in the world. However, there are breeds that they're not immune. Nobody's immune. But Russian honeybees, those bees lived with the varroa mites for over a century. So they developed natural, strong genetic resistance. So those are the bees I would get. They just are. Now remember, winter's coming. And I know I'm moving fast through this, but, so I've got things got to get into. So we'll talk about wintering over in the Ozarks. They're not heavily insulated. That's one of the cons. So you're going to want to remove the flow super for the winter. Just leave the brood box only. They'll be fine. You'll wrap it with a breathable insulation. You'll add a moisture quilt. And you're going to ensure they have adequate food stores. Okay, they love their sugar water, but so do other critters. So we'll talk about that. Now the flow frames, you'll just keep those in storage until spring. And your hive is going to come with instructions that you need. Follow them. Don't ignore your bees' wellness. They're livestock too. Buzz, yes, but they're livestock too. They are providing you with food. Provide them with a comfortable home. Okay, so like I said before, flow hives are the absolute easiest for harvesting. They are not the easiest for your colony management. You're still a beekeeper. The automation part is only the honey extraction. Everything else is standard beekeeping. So if you treat it like a fully automatic hive, the bees are going to die. So I promised you a short calendar of your beekeeping. Pardon me for one short moment. I think I might need to sneeze. Oh, it was a short sneeze, but a mighty one. Okay. So let's just start at the beginning of the year, January. Do not open the hive. I cannot say that any clearer. You're going to check the external conditions only. You're going to ensure the entrance reducer is clear of any dead bees, because you will have some dead ones. Not all of them are going to overwinter. You're going to confirm everything is dry and stable. And just kind of lift the back just a little bit to kind of gauge the food weight. And emergency feed only if it feels kind of dangerously light. Bees are really good at feeding themselves all winter long. Your main risks in January are moisture, not cold. Okay, bees are hardy critters. Now, February. Still, don't open it. No full inspections. Just add some dry sugar or some fondant. They love that. If the colony's light, check for any wind damage. Make sure the roof vents are open. And start prepping your stuff for spring. Okay, now the key risk in February is going to be starvation before the nectar flow. So dry sugar and fondant if it's light. They love that stuff. Spoiled bees. Spoiled bees give us beautiful honey. March. March is going to be your first full inspection. So you're going to look at the brood. You're going to look for the brood pattern. The queen's presence, of course. Okay, we have to bow the knee, to bend the knee for Her Majesty. We need to look at their food stores. We need to check for varroa. We need to clean the bottom board because they're going to have messed it up. We're going to remove the winter insulation, but we are not installing the flow super yet. Okay, now make sure we have hit the last frost because your key risks then are going to be brood chill, but also varroa spike. So keep an eye on that. Now, in April, the colony is going to start to rebuild itself because some of our bee friends have succumbed. We're going to inspect it every 2 weeks. We're going to add a second brood box if we need to. We do not want it to swarm. So we're going to monitor the swarm signs. We're going to install the flow super only when both brood boxes are at about 80%, that the bees are drawing comb pretty aggressively and the nectar flow has started. It is a huge risk to add a flow super too early because if you do, the bees will ignore it. That's a problem. So do not do that to your bees. Now, let's talk about the swarming issue. Okay, that is important. You do not want them to swarm. So some visual signs of that are going to be swarm cells. Like they're kind of peanut-shaped queen cells and they hang from the bottom edges of brood frames. You'll know it when you see it. Okay, there'll be beard behavior. And I know you all have seen it. You just haven't heard it called beard behavior before. And it's just those massive clusters of bees that are hanging outside the entrance. That is actually due to overcrowding and heat. So when you see that, it's not because they're enjoying the summer sun. If there's a drone influx, like a high number of the male drone bees and drone brood that are just present in the hive, just tons of them, you'll know. Okay, you'll know. And you'll see things in their behavior. So you're going to have egg reduction. The queen's going to stop laying those eggs and she's going to lose weight so she can fly. And that means swarm time. They're going to stop working. They're going to stop foraging. They're going to leave bees just sitting idle on the frames. They're going to backfill the brood. Like the workers will fill the empty brood cells with nectar instead of letting the queen lay. That's definitely a sign of swarming. Don't let that happen. Okay, get a second hive if you need to. Now May is going to be your peak spring flow. So now the bees should be working on those flow frames at this point. Inspect them every 2 weeks. Look for that capped honey in the flow frames. Definitely look for swarm cells. You are always looking for swarm cells. Let's just throw that in there. You're going to look for that congestion. You can add a queen excluder if you haven't already installed it. And you kind of want to make sure everything's perfectly level. The key risk in May is that swarming. So like I said, you really want to keep an eye out for those things. Now, some steps you can take is to destroy the queen cells. Or you can make a split. You can move the old queen and half the bees into a new flow box to kind of mimic a natural swarm. That way you have control over what's happening. And you can re-queen regularly because, you know, whether us old birds like it or not, young queens, they release stronger pheromones. And that kind of suppresses the swarming urge. Now, as far as the queen excluder, use your own judgment. It can trigger swarming or it won't. Just be aware. Sometimes the drones won't go through the excluder. can be a problem for you. You're going to watch your hive very closely when you do that. June. June is going to be your first harvest. Your flow frames, they should be fully capped by now. You're going to harvest only capped frames. You're going to harvest early in the morning or in late evening. We want to be gentle on our bees. And you're going to drain slowly into jars, into food grade buckets, however you plan to store your honey. That's on you. Do not, please, I am begging you, do not harvest during storms, high humidity, all the things. Okay, don't do that to them. Don't stress your bees. After the harvest, leave the flow super on. Okay, now the key risk is going to be fermented honey if it's harvested uncapped. Just look at it. Use your eyes. You're going to see it. It's there, and it's a clear sign that it's ready. July. July is some summer heat, and we are all feeling it, aren't we? Now, the bees will slow down. Bees slow down during the heat. They just do. So you're going to want to keep that water source fresh. You're going to want to keep it full. We're going to check the ventilation slider. We're going to inspect every 2 or 3 weeks. We're going to watch for that pesky varroa. And we're going to harvest it again if the frames are fully capped. So we want to continue to watch for the varroa, continue to watch for swarm, continue to keep them from overheating. Now, August, that's late summer, here we are. Nectar dearth begins. The bees, they might stop filling the flow frames about now. So we'll probably reduce our inspections to monthly. And we're not going to harvest uncapped honey, okay? Please remember that. But we are going to begin planning for our winter stores. And we are going to treat the varroa if it's there. But in August, we have a whole different danger to worry about. And it's called robbing behavior. Okay, so let's talk about the signs of dearth, because a lot of people don't even know that. They might have increased aggression. And like I just said, robbing behavior, okay? And that is when, like, bees will hover erratically around other hives trying to steal their stored honey. Okay, that's a problem, because it's not just your bees. There are other bees. So, you want to manage that. You want to manage the hive. You don't want to make them feel like they have to steal anything. Okay, so you're going to give them a 1-to-1 sugar water mix, sugar syrup, to simulate a nectar flow and keep the queen laying. Install entrance reducers. That way the hive entrance guards, they can easily defend against the robbing bees, against the wasps, or whatever they need to do. You're not going to open feed. You're never going to leave your sugar water or your honey out in the open. It triggers some pretty, it triggers robbing frenzies. Okay, that's not good. So you're going to inspect quickly at this time. You're just going to open the hive during the early morning, late evening. It's going to be under 5 minutes. You're going to avoid attracting the robbers. Okay, other bees will try to rob your bees. Your bees will try to rob other bees. We need to try and keep that to a minimum, if not avoid it altogether. Now, September, we're going to remove the flow super for the whole season. We're going to store the flow frames indoors. We're going to inspect the brood boxes, ensure the colony has honey for winter. We're going to feed them if we need to. We're going to install an entrance reducer. Now, we need to be careful about underfeeding before winter. Okay, we want fat, happy, sassy buzzers. And we're not going to get the buzzes if they're starving to death. We don't want that. Now, in October, that's going to be your full final inspection. You're checking the brood pattern, the queen's health, the food stores, hive moisture. You're going to add your insulation wrap, your moisture quilt. You're going to ensure everything's level and secure. And you're going to avoid moisture buildup. Now, in November, you're not going to have any more inspections. only external checks. So you're going to clear the entrance reducer. You're going to make sure that the predator fence is active. You're going to confirm everything is dry and confirm you don't have any wind damage. And then we get to December, and that is a deep winter, okay? Just leave them alone. Leave the bees alone. Check the external conditions only. You're going to lift the back of the hive just to gauge the food weight. You're going to add emergency feed only if necessary. You do not want them to starve during cold snaps. And that is a year of beekeeping. Now, flow hives do require less labor during honey season, which is your farming season. But they also require more discipline during your winter prep. It doesn't last long. It's just labor intensive. The biggest flow hive failures happen because people leave the flow super on too long, or they try to harvest uncapped honey. Don't do that. Okay? Now, oh, I hate this part, but we're going to talk about some predatory, stingy ouchers, okay? Yellow jackets. Oh, they're such robbers. And they are the most evil of all the buzzing ouchers, okay? They are serious ouchers. What do yellow jackets want? They want meat, sugar, shelter. If you remove these things, they leave. Okay, the problem is finding every hole on your acreage that they could nest in is nearly impossible. As far as meat, just don't keep your pet food out. They're not going to get it. So what you can do is you can use protein traps. You can use bait like chicken scraps, fish, canned cat food. Place that stuff as far away from where you live as you can on your property. Pull them away from you. Okay, your sugar traps, same thing. You're going to switch to that sugar trap later in the season. So you're going to use apple juice, soda, sugar water, fruit scraps. Again, way away from your house, your barn, your animals, all the things. They love pet food, chicken scraps, open trash, fruit drops, compost pile, you name it. Okay? Keep everything cleaned up. Because I'm telling you, yellow jackets are like roaches, honey. Once one moves in, they're bringing their families. Okay, they are starting an entire life. Don't let that, oh God. They're awful. Oh, I cannot contain my disdain for them. So you're going to want your traps at the edge of your property. Okay? I'm sorry if you have a neighbor that built too close to your property line, but man, keep them away from you. You got to worry about you. I'm going to tell you what does not work. Okay? You're going to have people tell you that there are certain things that do work. They'll swear by it. They'll, whatever. No. Okay, no. You're going to get ate up by yellow jackets. Citronella does not repel yellow jackets. Neither does peppermint oil. Neither do fake wasp's nest or random sprays or these natural repellents. Yellow jackets don't give a crap about what scent you are using. They don't. They care about food. They care about nesting sites. We just have to do our best on that. You can get professionals in there right away. While you're building everything, while you're doing, you can have them in there every year or 6 months if you want to. Remember, money's no object. And they can help a lot, okay? Because the professionals know exactly what they're looking for. One thing out of place and they know. So, just to get to an ending point, especially about these yellow jackets, because we want to keep our bees safe. And with yellow jackets, our bees are not safe, and neither are we, or any of our other animals, or our guests, or anyone else. You cannot, and you will not ever repel yellow jackets. It's not going to happen, but you can redirect them. Okay, you can give them bait that's far away from your homestead, and they'll leave you alone because they want to go for that. Your beehive is an attractant, and we want it to be way less attractive. So we want to bait them away from us. We want to bait them away from our hive effectively because they're going to go for the easiest food. Here's the thing. So will other critters. So it's really a difficult situation to deal with. The absolute best thing for our dream homestead would be just to do everything in our power to eliminate those attractants. I know, I get it. I sound a little bit obsessed with these things, but man, I have been ate the hell up by some yellow jackets before, and I can tell you, it is incredibly painful. It takes months to fully heal from them. Okay? Not only will they kill your bees, and not only will they rob them of their food, but they can kill your other animals. You have small children, watch out. You have anyone with the slightest of bee allergies, watch out. They remember. Yellow jackets remember, and they hold a grudge. Okay? And if they get attracted to that hive is pretty much done. You don't want these things on your property. We want to keep our bees safe. We want to keep our other animals safe. We want to keep ourselves safe. And one of the worst things I've ever run into out in the country, out in the woods, in the mountains, anywhere, yellow jackets. They are evil. Yellow jackets and ticks. But we have a cure for ticks later in another episode. So anyway, that's all I got on that for now. So now we have our bees. We know how to do our beekeeping. We are golden as far as that's concerned. So let's see. What should we do next? Let me look and see what we have on schedule for next time. I think we're going to do gosh, I really want to do dogs last because they're the funnest. Okay, as far as the animals go, we have a lot more to cover, but dogs are going to be last. So I think we're going to look at maybe, yeah, we'll do our bat house and our guinea hens at the same time because that's going to be a great form of pest control. So just helpful hint, kind of a teaser for next time. Your bat houses are important because they will eat those skeeters like it is a thing to do. You ain't going to get ate up because they're going to eat them up. And your guinea hens are going to run free and they're going to eat all the ticks they can get their little beaks on. And they're going to kill any snake that dares to toward your stuff. And frankly, I don't like me no skeeters. I don't like me no snakes. So guinea hens and bat house it is. That's going to be for next time. So everybody have a great night. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.